I'm Jamila, a marriage and family therapist and owner of Lotus Space LLC, wellness and consultant. And welcome to Lotus Space TV, very first live Q&A. I decided to do this Q&A because I reached a milestone of 1,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone who subscribed so far. That means a lot to me, and it also lets me know that you like the information and that you want to see more information. So the more we interact with each other, the more feedback you give me, the more videos that I can put out. This is a community that we're trying to build together. And I decided to do this channel because there's a lot of people in my community, and specifically the Black community, who is really just starting to accept mental health. And there's a lot of misconception about diagnosis and about therapy. And it's impossible for me to help everyone. I know that I can't help everyone. I have friends, I have family, I have my own clients, and I cannot sit down with every individual and help them. So I thought that, hey, why not create a channel, right, that has all the information, where I share different diagnoses, where I share ebooks for children, and hopefully to do some more for adults and teens, where the information is out there. You can always go back and refer to YouTube channel, since this is the way of our world now, and you always have something there. I have some questions that people sent me prior to doing this recording, and I'm going to answer these questions. And if you have any questions, I ask that you put them in the comment section, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability at a later date. I also speak really fast, so if there's something that you don't understand in this video, please make sure you let me know in the comments. Also, that will let me know that I need to slow down, because I'm not talking to anyone. It's easy for me to just keep going because there's no one to, kind of intervene or interject, I should say. I also say a lot. So that's something that I'm working on. So just bear with me. I'm navigating my phone and my computer. This is all new to me. Technology is not my expertise. So be patient with me. We're in this together. And if you have any advice or feedback for, creating content or, YouTube, please let me know. I really would appreciate it. Because, like I said, I'm a therapist. I am not in tech, and I'm just getting familiar with YouTube. So let's get started. So the first question says, when a person experiences depression and they feel as though they're at the end of their rope, but somehow, okay, let me read it again because I can barely see. When a person is experiencing depression and they feel as though they're at the end of their rope, but somehow snap out of it and resume life as they normally would for a steady period of time, is it possible for those feelings to come back? So if someone had experienced some depression for maybe a long period of time or even a short period of time, and then they somehow snap out of it, their mood is lifted, is it possible for those feelings to come back? And yes, it is possible for those feelings to come back because we're human. And there's going to be times in our life where we get depressed. There's going to be people that we lose, whether that be to death or a loss of a relationship. It could be a loss of a job. There are many things that can cause us to feel some negative emotions, but resiliency is the key. So when we are feeling those negative emotions, we want to address them. We don't want to avoid them. Because when we're avoiding our emotions, then we start to have internal conflict, and it hinders our healing process. So when we go through a season of depression or whatever, we use our tools to bounce back, and we use those tools every time we experience something that's going to cause us some negative emotions. So yes, you can experience some negative emotions if you've already came out of a season of depression. But resilience is key, and if you have the tools, and if you accept the unwanted emotions that you're dealing with in the present moment, then it'll be easy for you to bounce back. Because sometimes we try to deny those emotions, right? Why do I feel like this? We're judging ourselves. And we just really have to accept those negative emotions as well. Because a lot of times we get so attached on the happy emotions. And we have to recognize that negative emotions are normal and they're healthy as well. So when we address those emotions, we bounce back more quickly, and we're utilizing our tools to help us overcome whatever that situation was. So next question. would it be recommended that they seek help based off the isolated period of depression? So I'm assuming that this question is related to the first question. So would it be recommended to seek help based off the isolated period of time? Yeah, I think it is. I think every individual should seek help or, attend therapy at some point of their life. Um, and I think that a person should seek help whenever they are thinking about seeking help. So if you're struggling with something and you're kind of like debating, like, should I see a professional? Should I talk to someone about this? Then yeah, it's probably about time that you need to seek some help for whatever you're experiencing. And also, I think that um, when you need help when whatever you're experiencing is interfering with your daily functioning or your daily routines. So if you're working a full-time job, you're a parent, and you're calling out of work because you're having these crying spells, you're sad, maybe you're feeling irritable, you're having problems interacting with people, you're losing interest in doing things, that means that this whatever this issue is interrupting your daily functioning. Like you're not going about your life as you normally would because of these issues that need to be addressed. So if these things are happening, and if you are thinking about talking to a professional, then yeah, it is time to seek help. Let's see. I would like to know more about your family. Like, do you have children or siblings? Um, I have a son. My son is an adult now. He is 21. And yes, I do have siblings. I have a older brother. We share the same father. I have an older sister and I have a younger sister. I have, let's see. I have nieces and nephews. I have three nephews. I think three great nephews, and then two nieces and three great nieces, and a bunch of cousins. So I have a lot of family. And I'll share a little bit about, some of my family and some of the things that I've been through at a later time when it's more appropriate. But yeah, so I have a son who's 21 now. He actually just left because I needed to record the video. And I have my siblings. So let's see, next question. As a therapist, do you often feel that you may need therapy? Yes. Yes, because before I'm a therapist, I'm a human first. Um, I truly believe, again, that everyone should seek therapy at some point in their life. I've attended therapy in the past, dealing with the grief of my father. There's also some things that I've been dealing with, and again, I'll share those things at a later date when it's appropriate. Um, and I also still do check in with the therapist from time to time. I do work with clients who deal with a lot of trauma, and there is a such thing of secondary trauma, and I get triggered, right? I get triggered. So, when I feel like I'm going through something and maybe the people around me don't really understand what I'm experiencing, then I'll reach out to my therapist so that I can, just get a different perspective, or, just have that outlet, right? So, yes, I do think that, being a therapist, it is important to have therapy. And also, based off experience. So, because I've been to therapy and then I've also been trained, um, to be a therapist, and I think that is, that's really beneficial to me helping my clients, because not only am I helping them with their emotions, but I also know what the therapeutic process is like from a personal perspective. All right. Next question. Do you believe that because you're a therapist, you're better skilled at managing your own mental health needs? That is a good question. Um, and I wouldn't say better, right? I would say more resourceful, in the sense of I may have more connections or tools that someone else might not have access to. Um, I'm still learning some things when it comes to my personal growth. And everyone has a different skill set. I don't put myself above anyone because I'm a therapist, because there are some things that I've never experienced. And when you don't experience, if you never experienced something before, then you don't know. So I would need someone who is experienced in that area, or a specialist in that area, to help me as well. So no, I don't think because I'm a therapist that I'm better skilled, because again, we're humans and we go through, the same things that people who are not a therapist go through. We get sad, we get depressed, we get angry, we go through breakups, you know, we have trauma, dysfunction, all of those things. We're human. Um, Now, what I can say, one of the things that about being a therapist is that I do see things through a different lens that other people wouldn't see. Um, and one of the benefits of my skill is being able to identify, I guess, red flags or behaviors like really quickly that doesn't align with mine that other people may not pick up on. So let's see. The next question is, how do you as a therapist balance your mental health, work, and personal life? Whew, another good question. Because it's a lot. Um, I would say for me, I started to develop rituals. Um, and I like to do this because it keeps me structured. It keeps me in a routine. Everyone doesn't do well with like structured activities, but structure is important. It is important to nurture all areas of your life so that you can find balance, and that means that means to make sure that you are allowing time for yourself, allowing time for your career, friends and family, whatever that is, right? Kind of like have to map out your time so that you are nurturing all these areas of life. So when it comes to me, I like to do rituals. So in the morning time, I work from home now, and in the beginning of the pandemic, it was a little bit challenging um, because I wasn't leaving the house. So then what I would do is I would get up and I would get in the shower and I would go to Starbucks and get a coffee, so it can feel like I'm going to work, like I'm actually getting up and I'm doing something, right, rather than getting up and walking across my hall to the office. So in the morning time, I like to shower. I like to light a scented candle, probably like a citrus scent, so that I can be more energized. I like to drink my coffee. I have to have my coffee in the morning time. And then I'll drink a green smoothie. Sometimes a green smoothie is first. And what I mean by green smoothie is the base is kale, spinach, and then I'll throw bananas, green apple, ginger, turmeric, lemon, honey, and water. And I drink that every morning. And then I have my coffee. And that gets me started for the day. And then let's see, so I'm working from home, and then I will take some breaks during the day. So in between clients, maybe like lunch, or if I get a 15-minute break, I'll get a snack. I'll rest my eyes for a minute because on Zoom all day, and I've been noticing that it started to impact my vision. So I'll try to like close my eyes for a little bit and rest my eyes between sessions. I also like to take dance breaks. Um, and then at nighttime, I like to do some yoga and meditate and light a candle again because I like those scents. I feel like it's really, really therapeutic. And specifically a lavender candle at night. I like the lavender because it helps me feel calm and balanced, and it helps me fall asleep. And setting boundaries with people. Setting boundaries, saying no to things that I don't really want to do, trying to stay connected to people, family and friends, whether that be just checking in. Sometimes on social media, I'm not really active on social media. I'll post something, but I can always interact with my family and my friends on social media if I want to stay connected with them, because physical, face-to-face contact is really important. Um, and then I also try to eat nutritious meals. Well, not try, I do. And I am on a vegan journey. I haven't eaten red meat in about 19 years. And I just stopped eating chicken and turkey in September after I contracted COVID. And I like it so far. I still been eating fish, but I've cut out the dairy, so no eggs. Um, I've just been using like vegan butter and like dairy substitutes and things like that. And I like the way my body feels, so I'm going to stick with it. So yeah, I would say creating my rituals, taking breaks during the day, taking vacations from work, staying connected with family and friends, and getting my nutrients and setting boundaries. So let's see, next question. Why did you decide to become a therapist? Um, I decided to become a therapist after my own personal experiences and working in the field. So I've been in the field for about 22 years. I did a podcast recently, and I said that I was in the field for 19 years. When I look back at it, it's about 22 years. So a really long time I've been in the field. I started out in residential working with the youth, and I went to school for my undergrad for my bachelor's in human services because I knew I wanted to work in the field, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I know I needed a degree in order to make a decent salary and to be able to do um, the things that I wanted to do. So like you needed college credits or at least college credits or a degree in order to do certain things in the mental health field. So I guess certain positions. Um, so I have my undergrad in human services, which is an umbrella um, major, and basically you're trained to work with humans, right? You're trained to interact with humans of all kind, to serve other people, and I'm minored in psychology. After that, I worked in, I think, the school base. I worked in school base. I worked for Department of Human Services here in Philly, which was our Child Protective Services. And with those two positions, I kind of saw like the background of, I guess, like the family dysfunction. So when I worked in residential, the children, they would get discharged, right? They were doing well, they would get therapy, they would get discharged, and then they would come back shortly after. And I didn't understand why. I'm like, why are these, they're doing well, but then once they go home, they come back, or they're in another placement. And it was because they're going back to the same dysfunctional environment. And, I used to wonder, why aren't the parents coming in and having therapy with the children, right? Because if the children are experiencing something, then the parents need to know how to, well, first have an understanding of what their child is dealing with, and then, know how to approach it. So I didn't understand it. So I think that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go back to school, because I wanted to learn more about it. Because while working at residential, I learned a lot about different medications and different diagnoses. And then, I worked in early intervention. And, I love to work with the families. And I realized how important the family environment was. And, I went back for my master's for marriage and family therapy. And one of my professors was just talking about her experiences. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is a way that I can reach not only the child, but also the family as a whole, right? Because you have to be able to help the entire family unit, right? Even if one person may be experiencing a problem, right? Because that problem is going to affect the entire family system. So, in my own personal experience, I came from dysfunction and trauma. And again, I will share those stories at a later date when the time is appropriate. So just, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and stay tuned so you can be updated when new content is posted. So let's move on. We are almost done. All right. How do you set and maintain healthy boundaries? So before I answer that question, I do have a ebook that I wrote called "The Art of Setting Boundaries." The book has not been published yet because I've been going like back and forth on things with the cover, and really nervous too. This is my first ebook, so but it will be out soon. It is a learning tool, but also has a humoristic twist to it, because our world, there's a lot going on, and mental health, the topic can be so heavy, and I just wanted to bring some light because I do like to laugh, and laughing is really one of the best medicines, right? So setting boundaries. How do I set and maintain boundaries? Um, as for me, I think I do a really good job with just not doing things that make me uncomfortable. speaking up and telling someone, how their behavior has made me feel, and really just recognizing when a person no longer, the relationship is no longer serving a purpose. So if I speak up and tell someone how I felt, and if they are not willing to acknowledge, right, take accountability for how they made me feel, or make me feel, or make any adjustments or changes, right, to improve the relationship, then this lets me know that you're not interested in, keeping me in your life, right? If you're not willing to make any changes to improve the relationship, then yeah, I'm going to have to disconnect from this relationship. So that is a boundary. Um, it's not easy to set boundaries with people because um, I'm sorry, yeah, my leg fell asleep. It's not easy to set boundaries with people because everyone is not going to respect your boundaries, and the truth is they don't really have to. Um, it is up to us, right, to determine if we want someone in or out of our life. Um, the most important thing when you set a boundary is to set a consequence. So, for example, if you're talking to someone on the phone and a topic comes up that you feel uncomfortable with, right? You can ask the person like, hey, can we change the topic, or I'm really uncomfortable with the way this conversation is going, or I'm uncomfortable with the way you're talking to me. Um, and that person, continues to proceed the conversation and continue to, they're not listening to you or not changing their behavior, and you say, I'm going to have to end this call if you continue to talk to me this way. I told you before, I'm really uncomfortable. Um, and I don't like the way this is going. And if they continue to still, you know, behave in a way that is uncomfortable for you, then you could end that call. So that is a consequence, right? So the boundary is, I'm uncomfortable with this conversation. The consequence is ending that conversation, but you have to follow through with that. Um, so let's see. Boundaries. And also just, not attending everything that I'm invited to. It is not that I don't want to go, but I work a full-time job. I just started my own business, Lotus Space LLC, and I'm tired. My workday doesn't end until about 8 o'clock at night. And I want my weekends to rest, or maybe do laundry or do grocery shopping. And if I'm attending everything that I'm invited to, when do I have time for myself? And I'm entitled, to make myself a priority, right? Just like everyone else is. We don't have to attend every event. And even, if I did want to attend an event, I'll go for like a limited period of time. So setting boundaries, saying no, not doing things that make me uncomfortable, speaking up and letting someone know what my boundaries are. Um, and yeah, just choosing me, just making myself a priority. And I'm never going to apologize for putting myself first. And you shouldn't either. So let's see, next question. And I also want to just keep in mind that when we're not setting boundaries, or we're not getting our needs met. So if we're constantly keep, saying yes to people. So if someone is asking you to, I don't know, baby, watch their kids, or look after their pet, or I don't know, drive them somewhere, or borrow money, whatever that is, if you constantly keep saying yes, you can start to get resentful. You can start to become jaded with that person, because now you may feel like you're being taken advantage of or being used, because maybe it's not being reciprocated on the other end. So always put yourself first. um, set boundaries so that you're not neglecting your own needs. Alrighty, next. What does mental health progress looks like for your clients? um the progress for mental health, or therapy, looks different for everyone. So let me see, I have some bullet points here. The first one I would say that's most important is to, I think it's really important to have a connection with your therapist, because in therapy, right, your therapist is just like any relationship. Yeah, there's boundaries, right? A therapist is not your friend, But you want to make sure that you have a connection, because if you have a connection with someone, the more likely you are to trust them, right? And trust the strategies or the tools that the therapist is providing for you. Um, so I would say connection is most important. It also depends on the motivation of the client, right? Sometimes you may have, maybe a kid or a spouse who comes to therapy because someone else, requested they come to therapy. And it's not something that they really are open to. So if someone is not really open to addressing their issues, or don't even recognize they have any issues, then it may make the therapy process slow or even delayed, because then we might run into resistance, which is normal, right? Um, and then I also think the amount of effort or work that you are willing to put in, right? Nothing changes if you don't do the work. So for example, if you come to me because you're experiencing anxiety, and I recommend that over the next 7 days you spend 5 minutes each night and take some deep breaths to calm the nervous system. And then over that 7 weeks, you did not follow through with that at all. And then next time you report back to me, you tell me that your anxiety is increased. Well, your anxiety has increased, right? Because you haven't applied the tools. So we have to do the work, right? Um, Therapy is having a conversation, but also you have to apply these tools to your life, because therapy is not meant to be permanent. So yeah, I would say the connection of the therapist, um, the expertise of the therapist. So make sure that you have a therapist who specializes in your, I guess, whatever issue that you're experiencing. So so for example, if you are someone who is experiencing postpartum, right, postpartum depression, then maybe you go to a therapist who specializes in postpartum, right? So again, the connection with the therapist, the motivation of the client, their goals, the severity of the issues, and then the how much work or effort that you are willing to put in, right? Um, what are best practices when educating children about mental health issues? That is a really, really good question. Um, I think that as parents, right, we have to have a good understanding of our mental health, right, and what that looks like in order for us to teach our children. Because if we don't know what the signs are, if we can't identify them within ourselves, if we don't have the tools to cope, then um, we're really not going to be able to help our children. Um, and we have to remember as parents that we model behaviors for our children. So for example, if you're someone who becomes, when you become angry, you come home from work, you slamming doors and cabinets, you're throwing things around, you're yelling. A young child may look at that behavior as normal, and they may think that, okay, this is an appropriate way that you're supposed to manage your anger. When you get angry, you slam things around, you throw things. So now when that child goes to school and that child gets angry, the child is throwing chairs and yelling and cursing because they see their parent doing it at home. If you are someone who is experiencing depression, and you are you're having a difficult time getting up off the sofa for days, if you're having crying spells, and if your children are witnessing this, then they may think that this is the way you deal with depression. And yes, right, those feelings are normal, right? Those emotions are normal, they're healthy emotions. um but if we're having these conversations, and we're talking about it, and we're being honest with our children, then just be normalized, right? Because most of the times the things that children are experiencing is not a topic that's normalized in the family. Um and there are studies that show that there are a large percentage of children in schools who are depressed, and they don't know what they're experiencing, and they don't know what they're going through, because again, it's not a topic that is talked about at home. Let's see. How do we help children identify mental health issues amongst their family and friends? And I think, yeah, it goes back to us, right? Because we need to have a level of understanding, awareness, and acceptance. Because if your child is going through, if your child, say if your child lost someone, maybe a friend, a relative, and now they're grieving, right? Because they're humans too, right? They're little people, but they are humans and they experience the same emotions that adults do. If they're going through this and then the family is not open about talking about these things, then it makes a really unsafe space, or it makes a child uncomfortable to talk about these things because the family is not accepting of it, right? So then there's a lack of support. So and if we're not if we as parents are not healthy enough to deal with our issues, or we don't have a level of understanding where we can teach our child, then I always recommend therapy. Having your child see a therapist is beneficial because the therapist can use play therapy, and they can help the child understand themselves and how to deal with their emotions. We have no control over our children becoming depressed, or experiencing any emotions. We just we provide them with the tools so that they can manage these emotions, right? Our job as parents is to validate and empathize with our children, as well as setting boundaries. And the child's job is to express their feelings, um, test boundaries, and just explore the world around them. They're trying to figure out this world just like we are. We're more experienced because we've been here longer. So, just validating your child and empathizing with them, it really helps them because again, we are the first people that models negative or positive behavior, right? So, our children look to us to teach them what trust looks like, what healthy boundaries look like, and what healthy communication looks like. And if your child is feeling some negative emotions and they feel comfortable enough to come to you, and you know, and you're listening to them, you're validating them, then you create a safe space, right? Which creates good mental health, right? You're talking about these emotions in your household, you're normalizing them, which creates good mental health, right? Only when we're not nurturing these needs, we're not addressing the issues when we have poor mental health. All right, let's see. I hope that makes sense. And again, if you have any more questions about this, please leave it in the comments so that I can address it at a later date. These are really good questions. Let's see. How important is it to teach children about mental health issues, and at what age should those conversations begin? Ooh, another really good question. I think that is really crucial to teach kids about mental health because again, they experience the same emotions that adults experience. I think the earlier the better. Now I'm not a child therapist. I would say maybe 4 or 5. Um, a child therapist or a child psychologist may say different. Um, but I say, maybe 4 or 5, or, and I also think it depends on the maturity of the child. Um, because mental and this is another reason why I wanted to do this channel, to take the stigma away from mental health, because we all have mental health, right? Just not everyone has good mental health. And you know we need to take care of our brain just like we take care of any other like wound or injury. So if you think about, you may get a wound and I don't know, you're cleaning it with peroxide or whatever, you put a bandage over it, or you have a knee injury, you're going to physical therapy. It's the same way for our brain. So, if your child is diagnosed with diabetes, right, you want to educate your child on that diagnosis so that it can manage it. Um, and it lets them know that they are normal. We all experience these emotions at some point in our life. Um, and it is a normal part of life, and it is okay to acknowledge these emotions, um, and not judge ourselves because we experience these emotions. So let's see. That is it. That is all of the questions. Those were really good questions. Yeah. So I don't know, guys. So I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any more questions, leave it in the comment. Oh, this reminds me. So when you say like, what is the best way to teach your child about mental health? Um, there's a such thing called mental health first aid. And I did a podcast with an old coworker of mine. She's a licensed social worker. Her name is Simone Golden, and she is a mental health first aid trainer. And this trainer is for the everyday citizen. So, this is for individual, this is for families, this is for the professional. and it teaches you, it helps you recognize the signs of mental health, right? If someone else is experiencing it, and how to respond to those things, right? So if someone is coming to you and saying that they are, if they're suicidal, right? How do you deal with those things? If someone is experiencing a panic attack in front of you, how do you respond to those things? How do you recognize the signs so that you can support a loved one in need? So yeah, and I'll also put that link in the description below. What else? What else? What else? So yeah, so I'm excited. We're all done. This is my first Q&A. Um, Again, thank you for subscribing to this channel so far. I plan to post more information in the future. And please comment below on different, topics that you would like me to talk about. So yeah, so again, I'm going to sign off now. I will talk to you soon and stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe to be notified when more content is posted. I don't know what's happening, y'all.